What is up, everyone? Your boy, the Memphis Accelerate, coming at you with a quick deck profile for the God of Frogs deck, which is the combination of Frogs and Raw, if you weren't aware. So, we're going to go over the cards, and then we'll go over the strategy. For monsters, we run 2, the Winged Dragon of Raw, 3 Winged Dragon of Raw Sphere Mode, 1 Raw Immortal Phoenix. We got 3 Ronin Totem, 3 Swap Frog, 3 Dupe Frog, 2 Flip Flop Frog, we got 2 Unifrog, 2 Reborn Frog. For spells, we run 2 Man of the Bound Crater, 3 Twin Twister, 1 1-for-1, a Monster Born, a Foolish Burial, 2 Terraforming, a Regek, 2 Burial from the Different Dimension. As for traps, we run 3 each of Rainbow Life and Wabaku. Extra deck includes the following: 3 Totally Awesome, 2 Sky Cavalry Centauria, we got, 3 Crumble Lojos, we got 3 Mistara Boy, a Trisbina, a Linkaribo, and a Borload, and a Boral Sword. The side deck, I'll go over in a bit. So, as you can tell, this is mostly just a frog deck where we're trying to dump things with our Swap Frog, usually Ronin Totem here, and then you just try to build up a board going into Totally Awesome, maybe Mistara Boy on top of it. And then you just continue to spam frogs under the board, negate your opponent's stuff, etc., etc. It's pretty standard up to that point. However, that's where the Winged Dragon of Raw comes in. Basically, the idea is, yes, we're going for Totally Awesome, but we're using Totally Awesome as a springboard for Raw. So we're going to be trying to build up as many frogs as possible, tribute them for Raw. If you don't know how Raw works, when you normal summon him, you pay all your life points except for 100, his attack becomes that number. And you can pay 1,000 to blow up a monster. But usually, what you're going to try and do, like I said, you summon this thing, you just go for a huge one-shot on your opponent. And it's very good if you combine it with the Mound of the Bound, because then this thing's very much harder to out, because this protects it from being destroyed or targeted, which normally Raw does not have any protection against. Now, if you think you're going to lose all your life points if you go for Raw, don't worry. That is what Rainbow Life for. Discard a card. Instead of taking damage for a turn, you gain life points instead. So, imagine that you summon this thing with 7,900 attack. Your opponent plays a magic cylinder on you. Boom, you got all your life points back, etc., etc. And it works really good against burn decks, too. So, a big crux of this deck, of course, is the Winged Dragon of Raw Sphere Mode. It can be normal summoned by attributing 3 monsters on either player's field. And so, the idea is, you go second with this deck. You let your opponent make a big board. Then you tribute their monsters for Sphere Mode. Usually works best if you have a Swap Frog and another frog in hand too. That way you don't leave yourself with no board. Because, again, this does take up your normal summon. You can also give it to yourself, but that's not very well a good idea. But anyway, I should also mention Sphere Mode. During the end phase of your opponents, if they don't get rid of this by attributing it or linking it away, they have to give it back to you. And then you contribute it to summon Raw with 4,000 attack. Obviously, it doesn't get the other effect, but it's still a free, more or less, Raw by just getting rid of your opponent's stuff. So it's a nice thing in today's game where big boards are prevalent things. So that's what that's all about. And lastly, we got to talk about the Winged Dragon of Raw Immortal Phoenix. Basically, if you lose a Raw, this summons itself from the graveyard. It's unaffected by things. You can pay 1,000 and pop a card. But during the end phase, it goes back to the graveyard. And then you get a Raw Sphere Mode. So that's pretty nice. Oh yeah, and you can't attack. I should have mentioned this. You can't attack or attack with Sphere Mode. And you can't target it with card effects. So just be aware of that fact. What else do we got? Everyone knows Dupe Frog. Basically, if you have 2 Dupe Frogs on the field, your opponent can't attack. If it leaves the field, if it descends from the field to the graveyard, you get a frog monster, usually Swap Frog, things like that. That's the thing we build up with our Totally Awesome more often than not. Flip Frog is mostly just fuel for Swap Frog, but if you have a bunch of frogs and you flip this face up, you can bounce a bunch of cards. Unifrog can attack directly, and if you have another frog, you can destroy a spell trap. Not very handy, but it comes in handy, every once in a while. Another thing, we got Treeborn Frog. If you have no spell traps during your standby, you can summon this thing from the graveyard. It's handy on occasion as well. It's, again, Swamp Frog is the most important frog. I'm getting my words all frog-fried. Yes, but Swamp Frog, this, and this are mostly just fuel for Swamp Frog. Because what he does is, I can summon him, special summon him, by getting rid of one of these frogs in my hand, and then I send a frog from my deck to the graveyard, usually Ronin Totem, and then I can bounce him to do another normal summon. I can also just special summon him again if I have another frog in the hand. So yes, swap frog, very important. Let's look at a little bit more at our spell trap lineup. Mounted to the Bound Creator, like I said, protects Raw, and if it gets destroyed, you get to add either Raw or a Sphere Mode to your hand, because it adds a Divine Monster. Twin Twister, self-explanatory, get rid of spell traps, a lot of annoying ones in the game, 1 for 1, mostly for setting up the graveyard, give yourself a Treeborn Frog going into Mistar Boy or such. Same thing for 1 for 1, Monster Born, self-explanatory, Foolish Burial, self-explanatory, Terraforming, and Regek. Everything in here is pretty standard. One thing I shall mention is Burial from the different dimensions. Basically, in order to special Ronin Totem from the graveyard, you need to banish a frog. So, if you just start doing this thing where you're just banishing frogs and bringing out Ronin Totems multiple times, which you can do, I have tripled Mistar Boys in more than one occasion. And then you just need this Burial to put your banished frogs back so you can continue to do this, because this is not a once per turn effect. It's a very powerful frog, I tell you what. Like I said, the Rainbow Life, discard a card, damage becomes life. Well, Boku is more of a personal choice for just, protecting your monsters from battle and protecting you from damage. You want your life points high when you summon Raw, so that's the choice there. That's why I put that in there. And now the extra deck, totally awesome. Everyone knows what this does. Standby phase, detach, get a frog. If your opponent activates a card, you can get rid of a frog from field or hand to negate. And then you can set that card to your field. Pretty nasty thing. Centaria, basically, he can't be destroyed by battle if he has materials. And if he battles, you can detach a material to bounce the monster to these battles. So it's good offense and defensive monster. Crumble Lojos, not as useful as he used to be. I don't know why I still have him at 3, but he's pretty much Toad's best friend, so there you go. Basically, I can attach a material, target a face-up card, any sort of card. And then while this guy's on the field, that card has its effects negated. And the cards with the same name also cannot be activated. So, yeah, there you go. It stops your opponent's stuff. I don't know what else to tell you. Mistar Boy, generic water link monster. And like I said, you could build up a board of them and it'll be like 2,900. So, I don't know why you wouldn't want to run a few of these. Trisbine is an interesting choice. He banishes spell traps. If your opponent's playing something with a lot of spell traps and stuff, you can summon this thing, bring out a Rodent Totem into the zone he points to, banish all the spell traps. I just moved him over there. So, that's what he's for. Link Karibo, of course, for the Treeborn Frog. And we also have Borload and Boral Sword, because we can build up a big board on occasion, and that's what those two are for. As for our side deck, if you need another Raw, I don't really recommend it, but if you need one, there he is. If you don't want Waboku, Solemn Strike is the word. If you need more field spell, of course, there's an extra one of those. Stormforth! I just kind of put it in here in case you get 2 monsters and you really want to tribute an opponent's monster for Raw. And then, of course, there's Ancient Leaf. If you have 9,000 life points, you pay 2,000, draw 2 cards. So if you get lucky with Rainbow Life, it's a pretty nice thing. So anyway, thank you guys for watching this deck profile. I hope you enjoyed. Check out the video that I used this deck. It's going to be linked in the description. They're pretty good. Or at least I think they're good. The older ones were a little better, but whatever. I'm going to hope you enjoy this deck profile. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and y'all have a good day. Take care.